Hey everyone, I'm Joe Brady and we're here today to take a look at a great piece of gear for macro photography. If you currently have or you're looking to add a Canon or Sony camera to your photography toolkit, the Novoflex Retro Automatic Reverse Adapters allow you to mount your standard lens reversed in such a way that you'll be able to produce amazing macro photos. Join me as we take a closer look. Reverse mounting your lens has long been an affordable way to start to explore macro photography. If you're serious about getting those extreme close-ups, however, this basic solution does have some downsides. The first problem is getting dust into your lens. Since the lens is reversed, you'd need to find a reverse ring that would allow you to attach a filter to the back of your lens. Now the other problem is that you lose all the communications between your lens and your camera. No autofocus, no aperture control. On top of this, most new lenses no longer have an aperture ring where you can manually adjust exposure and depth of field. That means you're stuck with the lens wide open, which makes for a very shallow focus area. So what are the solutions? Well, you could always buy a dedicated macro lens, or you could purchase a bellows system, or you could use extension tubes. But wouldn't it be nice to take a small zoom lens, reverse it, and still have complete control of the lens as if it were mounted conventionally on your camera? If you have a Canon or a Sony NEX camera system, now that's an option. The Novoflex EOS Retro and NEX Retro automatic reverse adapters allow you to reverse mount your lens, and it transfers all of the control functions to the camera. And would you believe that you can get a much wider range of magnification than with a macro lens? For example, a reverse mounted Canon 28-105 lens will give you an image magnification of 1:7 at 105 millimeters and an amazing 2.8 to 1 at just 28 millimeters. I'm going to be doing some demonstrations with this camera. This is a Sony a6300, and I just have one of the standard kit lenses. This is an 18-55, and you're going to be amazed at how close we can get. As a Sony shooter, one additional benefit I love while using this system is the ability to display focus peaking on the display and in the viewfinder. What focus peaking adds to that is you get to see what is in focus from beginning to end. And the focus peaking will show you, as you move your focus in and out, which part of the macro image is in focus, so that you make sure you have everything from close to far that you want in focus. All right, I just came in from outside. I was hoping to do some shooting out in the field, but it got kind of windy today. And wind, when you're shooting stuff outside, it's definitely the enemy of macro photography, because you really need things to stay kind of still, because typically your exposures are going to be longish. So what I'm doing in here is I've got the studio, I've got continuous lights on, and we're going to do some samples right here. I've got a piece of black acrylic. I put a little background texture behind it, just to possibly add a little bit of interest, but we're going to be shooting in really close, so all we really should see is our items. And what I've got is I've got a pine cone, I've got some flowers, and I have a $100 bill. And the reason I brought that out is it'll give you a good sense of scale to how close we're actually able to get. So let's take a closer look about how the whole system works when you're putting it on a camera. There's a mount here. I just push in this button and this just comes right off, and there's the back of our lens. And if you look at the rear connector, you'll see all the contacts that are matching to the contacts on the back of the lens that would normally communicate with the camera. And what this does is, through this cable, it communicates all the information from the back of the lens back into the camera. Now on the front side, let me just unscrew this. I've got, again, these connectors, these metal connectors, which are going to communicate with the camera. Focusing, aperture control, all of that now gets controlled by the camera if you want. If you want to work on manual focus when you're going to be doing focus stacking, which is what I generally do, then you're going to go on manual focus. But if you want autofocus, yes, it will still work. This thread on the front of the Novoflex is a 58 millimeter. On this particular lens, it's a 49 millimeter thread. So here I have a 49 to 58 millimeter step-up ring. So this just goes on the lens, and then the lens screws into the receiving side. So now we have that attached, and this is the front of the lens. This is now going to go into the camera. Now I'm going to take the other end of the adapter and I'm going to attach it to the lens. Now this used to be the back, this is now to the front of the lens, and since this has its own thread, once again I have the ability to seal the back of the lens from the outside world by putting a filter over front of it. And this will keep everything sealed and keep you from having any problems about getting dust in the back of your lens. So onto the camera, this whole thing goes. And there we are. And I have the lens cap for this system connected to the camera itself to keep the whole system clean and free of dirt and dust. So there we go. So I'm going to mount this up onto the head here, and I'm going to take some shots. Now, since I'm going to want to go very close, I'm going to want to have the ability to add a little bit of extra depth of field. Well, to do that, I'm going to have to take multiple shots. One shot is, when you get that close, is not going to give you that much depth of field, even when you're stopped down. So what I'm going to do is use the focus peaking capability of the mirrorless camera, and I'm going to take multiple shots from front to back with the focus moving for each shot. So we'll see this up close on the back of the camera, and then you're going to see the results. So let's take some shots. All right, so what I've chosen to do in this setup is photograph something that it's obvious what it is, so you get a little bit of sense of scale. I've got the camera zoomed down close up to a real close-up of the eyes of Ben Franklin on a $100 bill, so to give you a sense of scale. All right, so here we can see the focus peaking turned on, and there we see Ben Franklin's eyes. And again, as I grab the focusing ring, notice as I move it back and forth, you can see the yellow moving from front to back, showing you everything that is in focus in that particular shot. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start up front, and we'll move our way all the way to the back. Okay, so there's our first shot. Let's move the focus back a little bit in the field. There's number 2. Number 3. Take it back even further. So now we can see the back eye is fully in focus. Yeah, I think maybe 2 more. All right, and then the last one, we'll go all the way back. All right, there's our shots from near to far, and we'll put it all together in software. And again, I'm going to bring the camera around so you can see how close the front of the camera barrel is to the bill. And it's really amazing how close you can get. And again, I'm still only at 35 millimeters. Alrighty, so here are our images of Ben Franklin's eyes up close. And here's the series of shots. I just brought them into Lightroom. So here's the closest bottom left. And you can see as we move along that the focus moves from near to far. So there's our far shot, and we get a little bit closer. Now you notice that the image is moving as the focus changes, and that's because of it's a parallax caused by the lens barrel moving. But the software we're going to run this through is going to fix that automatically. So let's jump into a software called Helicon Focus. And let me bring something else up that has all our images. So here's the software, and it is incredibly easy to use. So I'm going to grab my images, which happened to be 39 through 43. Here they are just on my desktop. So I'm just going to drag them in here, and the software sees it. Now there are different methods that you can play with. Not going to go into that. Just the method A, the basic one, is going to work pretty well. And watch how fast this is. I simply click on render. And you can see there's our first image. And look on the right, you can see now from right here all the way back, it's now in focus. And then you just save it. That's how easy it is. It's ridiculously easy. And I already saved it as a stacked file, so I'll show that to you and give it a name, etc. So I'm going to stop that because I'm going to clear these images and bring in one more I did with the bill where I added a flower, and that was 59, a little bit more shots. 59 through 65. Let's bring those in. And again, you can see we've got from a little bit of focus right here, and it's going to go all the way back. We're going to click on render, and you can see how shallow the depth of field is. Actually, we're picking a little bit up of the flower right here as well. Let's go ahead and click on render. It does its magic. And look at that. Now we've got it from focus from the bottom left-hand corner all the way up. That's just incredible stuff. And that's literally how easy it is. While it's true Photoshop can actually do focus stacking, if you're serious about getting into deep macro and you want to have this capability, Helicon Focus is definitely the Rolls-Royce of focus stacking software. You can see from our results that the Novoflex Retro systems work beautifully and is completely simple to use. You can also adapt it to a wide variety of wide angle and zoom lenses by simply adding the appropriate step up or step down rings so that the 58mm thread on the adapter will mount into your lens's filter thread. I've always been interested in macro photography. It's an entire new world, but I didn't go so far as to purchase a dedicated macro lens. The capabilities this system adds to my existing lenses and the magnification range that is possible make this a perfect solution for me. If you're a Canon or Sony shooter and interested in exploring the fascinating world of macro photography, the Novoflex Retro Automatic Reverse Adapter just might be the best solution yet.